Welcome to another edition of Artists Unite Song Series. Tonight we have Popclaw, and I realized, do I look like Ali G? By the way, this was not my intention.
No, you look like Joe Satriani.
Just-
Yeah, I could say Joe Satriani.
That's even better. Welcome, Popclaw, Chris and Dan.
Oh yeah.
Joe Satriani.
Oh yeah.
Oh no. All right. Well, I don't know if there's anything more uncool than looking like Joe Satriani, but
Looking like Steve Vai.
it's just a little bit worse. Actually, let's carry this on to Yngwie Malmsteen. Have you seen him lately? He's got these
Lately.
huge Wolverine mutton chops. Yngwie
What?
Malmsteen. Don't know why.
No way.
Oh.
Yeah, he's got huge Wolverine. Why I've seen him lately, I don't know. I guess maybe since I'm looking like Joe Satriani, I'm just like bringing in a lot of guitar masters to my feed. It's just like I don't know. Anyway,
And how did
guys,
we end up here?
I've learned a G chord the
how
other
did
day.
any of us end up here? I don't know. How did I end up here? I don't know. But guys, Popclaw, it's got you guys have a cool story that you shared a little bit on your Spotify profile. So tell the story of how you guys even got together and started making music because it's cool.
Um, so for me, I started in the first lockdown in England. I was furloughed, and I just I don't know why I got bored for about a week of just sort of doing the same things. I thought I'm going to pick my guitar up again, which I haven't done for about 4 years, and I just started demoing really, and then I sort of set myself a challenge of every night. So I did it for about, I think, 14 nights on the trot. I just demoed stuff and didn't really think anything of it, just sort of did it for the enjoyment. And then I thought maybe I should develop these into actual songs. And then another year went by and I sort of was looking for a singer. And then I came across Dan and he was cool. He liked the tunes. He added, developed them a lot more, which was cool because I just been listening to the instrumentals for God knows how long. So it was nice to have a vocal on them. And we've just been going from there since, really. And yeah, it's quite collaborative, and we're developing. We've got so many ideas. I've lost count. Actually, earlier I was listening to some demos Dan sent me, and it's I think we've got at least another 20. So we've got plenty of material. So not going to
Well,
run out anytime soon.
you said I came across Dan. Like how did that happen exactly?
Join my band. Just put an advert on there. Um, for me, it's a bit like Tinder, isn't it? I never used Tinder, but it's like that. It's almost like you just find so many people, and it's trying to find the right person.
And what was
And
that
luckily,
on an app or like?
it's just a website. I don't know if it's I think it might just be a UK website. Um,
It's a
Okay.
classifieds for musicians
Oh, nice.
to
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
network and meet each other on. It's based in the UK. You
Oh,
can
nice.
search via area. So if you live in, say, Wolverhampton or Manchester, you can, look for ads for people looking for particular roles for a band in within like a 30-mile radius or within that city. It depends on what you want, really. Um, and you just see ads on there all the time, guitarist wanted or drummer wanted, but it can
Okay.
go the other way as well. It'll be like drummer looking for band or guitarist looking for band. So it's good, and people can share demos on there and collaborate too.
Oh, wow. That's
um
awesome.
it's good. It's a good site. I've used it in other bands as well when I was younger, which is how I sort of discovered what would eventually become Popclaw. That's how I met Chris.
Yeah.
It's good.
And and you guys still have never met in person. Is that right?
No.
So you
no, not
obviously
yet.
you're in opposite sides, opposite ends of the United Kingdom. Or
Um,
where each are you
We're
at?
not a million miles away. Oh, we Dan.
So you're more sort of Kent way, and I'm in Surrey,
So
which
we're in the
is
southeast. We
yeah.
just
I
we're,
think
Okay.
the best way to describe that is sort of go through London and then go a bit more for either one of us, and you're sort of there.
Okay. Okay. All right.
It may be a 2 hour drive.
Maybe a 2 hour drive, and either one of you and still haven't made the drive.
He's
no,
just
I
had a
think
young kid. I've just had a young kid. It's
Ah, okay. Okay. That I know. I've got 3 kids myself, so I actually that was part. I went many years. I had like a music career when I was younger, right? I was thinking
yeah.
when you mentioned the ads, I was in New York City, so back then it was in the back of the Village Voice. It was like the famous kind of cultural newspaper back then. You and a physical newspaper. You actually looking for vocalists, and I would go to auditions and stuff like that. So I never even thought about that just being digitized or being a website nowadays. So that's cool. But then I started doing music on my own, but it actually took like 7 years past when my last child was born. It was like very tough to make music with young kids or to really like do much of anything other than focus on being a father. But we had 3 kids and they were all 18 months apart, so we almost had 3 kids in diapers at once, which would have been epic. But we had two, which also is a lot. But yeah,
I
those
guess
kids
the
take
good
up
thing is
time.
that you can recycle the things. If one's got a Moses basket, the other one inherits the Moses basket.
Exactly. And so was it basically like Chris, that you had like a bunch of these kind of riffs and you would like send them to Dan, hey, you got anything for this? And you kind of send stuff back and forth, or how did the actual creative process? Let's talk about Judgment, because we're going to focus on your song Judgment, which was the
Yeah.
first you did, right?
Yeah, that was actually the first one I sent to Dan. Um, I didn't have any lyric ideas for it. I didn't know how I wanted it to musically. I knew how I wanted it to sound because basically I was watching Baby Driver, and there's that scene in the movie, I don't know if you've seen it, but I think it's got Flea and Jamie Foxx in it, and the kids are kind of the main guy. He puts his iPod on, and the Damned come on. I think it's neat, neat, neat. And I thought I want to write it almost like a homage to that.
Mm.
So that's why it's got that sort of, I suppose, rock and roll sort of 12-bar riff going on. And although I didn't really want it to sound like the Damned, I just like the music, so I thought I'd just see what Dan could come up with. And yeah, the results are, I think they're really good. I mean, he's to hear it as an instrumental for ages and then hear that sort of taking a different direction. I thought that was quite cool. But yeah, as you
And
said, with the riffs, yeah, I do mainly send. Well, I did at the beginning, and well, now we're sort of we are more to and fro. So Dan's sending me stuff, I'm sending him bits. It's not sort of like one of us says I'm going to do this,
yeah.
and then you sort of it's very like I said collaborative.
So are you both using the same home studio uh, setup? So
we
so
send
that
each other we send each other WAV files
okay,
and just feed them into a DAW.
okay, all right. So you don't have to have the same one. You just keep kind of adding to. Uh,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean I have Logic, and I think Dan's just recently. What have you bought Dan recently? He's told me that, haven't you? Should know that.
Studio. I just got Studio One,
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
which is owned by a company called Presonus, who are owned by Fender.
Mm,
Um, and it's a very good bit of software. It reminds me a lot of Cubase,
mm,
um, so I can sort of work out where things are based on the fact I did years on Cubase when I was doing sort of music school and other things.
mm.
And anything I sort of don't understand, it's fairly easy to find tutorial videos on YouTube.
Yeah, this mix, well, kind of producer and mixer that I've started working with recently. He uses that Studio One. So I
It's
actually put
really
stuff
up and
together
coming.
just in GarageBand on my iPhone. Actually, it's like when
Yeah.
I'm like demoing things, and then I send him the files, and then he a lot. Some of that he'll keep, and others he'll add to. But I mean, it's so crazy because it's quite amazing that we can do this nowadays. You know, I mean, it's like
Even cooler
Yeah.
than that, with Studio One, if you're working with other artists who also have Studio One,
yeah,
you can upload your working file with your stems to a cloud that's only accessible by the person you want to collaborate with, and they can download the working file with all of the presets, everything ready to go, add their bits, upload it back, and then send it back to you so that
wow,
you can add more or mix or
yeah,
do whatever needs to be done. It's a really cool piece of software.
wow. I wonder how far we are away from uh being in two different places with the same workstation open in real time with it going on. Or has that happened
Probably
already?
not too far
Not too
off.
far.
You
Yeah.
just need a really good sort of stable fiber optic internet connection and
Yeah.
probably computer processing power enough to be able to handle running both.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's cool at the same time though, isn't it? You know, you can just work like you said as well. You work with someone in a different area. It's just that's the positives of social media and all that sort of stuff. In it, it's
Yeah.
it's cool,
It's
isn't it?
amazing.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Denmark and I'm working with a guy in Virginia. No, I don't even. Is it Virginia or West Virginia? I can't remember. In the US, you know. So it's crazy.
Yeah, but then like you look at artists like Tomahawk, that's how they did their first album,
Yeah.
sending cassette tapes through the post to each other.
Yeah. It is.
bring back the cassette. Where's that gone? The cassette tape. You know, where's that going to get its shine again? You know, it's all about vinyl, isn't it? It's just
I
Well,
got
I
a
just
I
love
think
cassette
some people
tapes.
are making tapes out of their new albums.
I
I
got the
think it's kind
latest
of a
Coheed and
thing.
Cambria album on cassette.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's good.
I've noticed that some people are making cassettes. Yeah. It's funny. Um, so what about like the overall did you guys talk in advance about the overall kind of concept or what you wanted the end result to be, or were you just kind of exploring as you went along?
I
Um,
think
Um,
it's I think it's a bit of both. I mean, there's been times that I've tracked things that I thought that, are really good, and Chris has listened to them and gone, yeah, no. Um, I remember the first time I
I
tracked.
can picture Chris not pulling many punches. It kind of I'm picking up a real, say it like it is vibe.
Well, I tracked a guitar solo, and I was like super keen to like show off, and then I sent it over to him, and he was
A
like,
little Satriani style.
"What is this? Why have you done this? This kills the song. Do not do this."
that works the other way around. Like when I send stuff to Dan, it's like I'm like the I say Dan's songs are like more mature, whereas mine are like the more short, snappy, sort of punky. And he's always like, "Where's the rest of the song? Like you're sending me a minute and a half. Where's the other minute and a half?" I'm like, "That's done, mate. It's done." And he's like, "Make it longer." So it's just
Did the file corrupt? Why do
yeah,
I only have
yeah,
a bit of this?
You're just gonna go into the midsection here, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Did you forget to move the markers?
yeah. The honest truth is the time that going the kids were, I had to be quick and get it done, tracked as quick as I could. So try to squeeze 5 minutes into 2 minutes. They're getting
But
longer now though.
there's a genuine sort of urgency to it though as well. It doesn't outstay its welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that about the song Judgment. It sounds very fresh to me. I mean, you mentioned talk a little bit about your influences because you mentioned the Damned with Judgment. What are some other ones uh, influences you think you guys have going into this?
The Ramones.
Um, in the
Ramones.
Ramones, even the Chili Peppers, maybe not on Judgment, but another song we have called Adrift. I think that's got a more Chili Peppers vibe. And then, I don't know, Nirvana.
Definitely
Um,
Nirvana.
you're definitely Nirvana. But I mean, the more recent stuff we've had is it's a real mixed bag, isn't it, Dan? It's like we've got one
We
that
got some
sounds a
Foo
bit,
Fighters.
yeah, Foo Fighters, even a bit of. I said the other one you sent the other day, Dan, was a bit like Iron Maiden, didn't I? Because like it's that sort of run to
It's
the
got a
hill
sort
type.
of
With,
Misfits
yeah,
meets Maiden vibe going on.
yeah. We haven't even got to my Talking Heads tune yet. I told you about Dan. I'll tell you about that one.
Oh
The
man, you
Talking
need to send
Heads.
me the demo for that.
Yeah, it's a bit. Well, my mother mate said it sounds like the Prodigy has made a baby with the Talking Heads, and I was like, I'm having some of that. It might sound shit, but
I
maybe in
mean,
the future.
let's put it out and let other people decide.
Yeah, and they probably just say it
Well,
sounds nothing like either of those two.
yeah, I mean, it is funny because you're talking about, oh, this song sounds like this song's like that, but they really all do sound like Popclaw too, which is a cool thing. You definitely have made your own identity.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that we sort of have that because there's so many times that either a band doesn't have its own identity and just sort of apes the other bands that are either on the local scene, or I mean, I've certainly been in bands that do that, or they ape sort of the bands that they see on TV.
Hmm.
Not that I'm really watching music channels anymore, but
Are there
I
music channels anymore?
in the UK we have this thing called Freeview,
Oh yeah.
and it's got like music channels that just show the same like chart music on repeat. It's not great.
But what are some of the things that are going on? Because to tell you the truth, I have no idea. Besides like the huge kind of pop, Taylor Swift kind of and Beyonce kind of thing. But I mean, is there a cool scene going on in England now? A cool live scene, or what are some of the movements going
Um,
on?
Oh man,
I
you're
probably the
asking two 30-something-year-old men. So
yeah. I
this,
was I could tell you about Blippi and other kids entertainers more than probably the pop me apart from what you said Taylor Swift. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so you guys
With
are
the cool
living in
kids.
your own little bubble. That's what I do too. So, I mean, other than this community, of like talking to people on the show and this kind of community that seems to be kind of synth pop, dark wave, post punk, which you guys said, oh, you sure? I don't know. I don't think we're really a part of that, but it's interesting, this thing of like punk into post punk, like you mentioned, the Damned or something. Maybe in the first half of the year, the Damned were punk, and by the second half of the year, they were post punk. I don't know, and probably same with bands like Blondie and the Ramones if they kept on going. It's funny, I mentioned this to another band that I think there was like an anniversary of Pet Cemetery, by the Ramones,
that's
and
such a
Yeah,
cool song.
it is a great
yeah,
song,
there
but
is.
the production on it really is like a pop song. You know what I mean? I don't know if they necessarily captured the kind of danger that you felt of the Ramones live. Whereas I think you guys are actually capturing that. It sounds a bit dangerous and you feel that energy. It's not overproduced. Like I feel like Pet Cemetery is a little too over pop produced, but
But don't you? For me, like the Ramones are just kind of if you took that frantic pace, they're kind of just like the bands of the '50s. Like they are kind of pop in a way. Like obviously it's more frantic, but I think they're always aiming to sort of get to that Pet Sematary, that sort of like you said, the pop sound. Maybe that was, I don't know, maybe that's what they wanted to, or one of them wanted to do. I don't know if it's all of them wanted to do it. But as you said about maybe us. I think our the songs are probably a bit. I like the fact they're raw.
Mm.
And I mean, they could probably be better. I'm critical of myself. They could be better produced, probably. But sometimes I like
Yeah, you
when
do a
they're.
good job, man.
Thank you, thank you. I do try my best. I did a 3 year degree. I should be kind of all right at it.
Yeah,
But yeah. Um, but I like songs that are like that sort of raw, sound a bit more real. Um,
Yeah.
as
I
real as
mean,
we can make it. So
it can't. Well, so you took a three-year degree in engineering?
yeah, music production. I started off knowing nothing about anything, and then yeah, eventually got all sorts of mics and uh, yeah, Logic, and just sort of went away with it really. And
Yeah,
I've done a few bands using it and trying to record things as good as I can. But I think in this sort of game, you just got to kind of make the next song the better, sort of learn from the last song and make the next one better, you know?
yeah.
So
But it's interesting, I mean, in this digital age, it can be a drawback that things can sound so polished is that sometimes you have to, find ways to dirty things up a bit. I
I
mean,
think
that's what I like
it's
about you guys is that you keep a little bit of that dirty, dangerous vibe, energy coming through.
it's easy to overproduce. I'm going to use a really famous example here. And I think that time has proved this to be correct. In 2008, Guns N' Roses released Chinese Democracy. That were, they'd spent 13 years on it, $13 million or however many dollars to record this album. That I really like it. I really like it. I think it's a great album. But very recently, maybe recently as 2009, maybe 2020, 13 discs from the studio that was recorded in leaked online with loads of unreleased material on there. And the first disc is called Rough Mix 1 or Rough Mixers 1. And it's just 10 tracks. And it's really raw, early versions of some of the songs on there and
Yeah.
some others that didn't make the cut. And it sounds like a really raw, sort of industrial punk record.
Wow.
And I'd almost choose to listen to that over what was released
Oh, that's
nine times
cool.
out of 10.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's so easy now that you've got the ability, like, to just go in you don't even have to have $13 million. You can record forever, 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 revise parts forever, 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 focusing on like milliseconds of like imperfection on a note in a guitar solo or some random synth part that like doesn't quite work because you didn't press the key hard enough and you've got like the velocity setting on the keyboard or you
Or
know
get lost in the plugin universe. Oh, I still
yeah.
got 100
yeah,
plugins to try.
Yeah, you're just trying like different versions of a grand piano for 3 years, and it's ultimately all the same thing. And it's very easy to just fall down that rabbit hole. I know I did it myself the other day, in fact, looking at a piano plugin. And in the end, I just found like this terrible, cheesy, like Barry Manilow-esque piano and just rolled with that instead.
Okay, so does that mean we're going to hear some keyboards in Popclaw in the future?
Um, it's something we've talked about. We're both big fans of Queens of the Stone Age,
Okay.
and their use of piano is really good.
Yeah, yeah,
They do it so well without losing that sort of rock and roll essence.
yeah, yeah.
I've got a piano in my house. I should be able to bloody play it, shouldn't I? Really? I keep
Can you
looking
play
at it
it?
right now. Actually, no. I think my missus can, and I think my son is very interested in it. So I'm just going to train him up, and then he can be as big as Elton John, and I can just live off him, can't I?
Do
You
it.
know what? My son is like this musical prodigy, right? He took a little bit of piano lessons and he's like, no, I don't like piano lessons. And he just sits down and plays, right? He writes his own stuff. He does like YouTube tutorials and he listens to things and he'll just play it on the piano. It's crazy. Then I got him guitar. Then he was playing guitar for like 5 hours a day. But the thing is, he's like I think he's had this well balanced childhood and he doesn't have this like desire for applause or anything. You know what I mean? He doesn't have that desperation. He's just like, no, no, no. I don't want to, I don't want to be famous. I don't want to like put songs out.
Yeah.
I just enjoy playing it. I'm just like, whose
That's
son are you?
that's the point of it, though, isn't it? To enjoy it. That's the
Yeah.
main crux of it. That's why everyone picks up an instrument to enjoy it. It's not about the all the rubbish. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, I mean,
I,
I've ended up there, like I would say, I'm 57, so I think I've ended up there about a couple years ago, so it took a
yeah,
lifetime for me to end up there.
I
But this
think the
kid's
thing
just
is,
totally chill about it.
we come from an era where, and I do count ourselves and you together in that, Scott, where like bands were cool when we were young,
Yeah.
and now sort of I think bands are disappearing. People think that you need a guy like Simon Cowell to tell you that you can be a musician,
Mm,
or you need fame to be a musician,
mm.
and I don't think that's the case. I think that there's probably the best song in the world ever written we'll never hear because it was probably written by some guy in his bedroom, and then he probably scrapped it because he's insecure about it. And
Yeah.
you can be a musician by playing music, by jamming
Yeah.
with your friends. And at first, I think Dave Grohl said it brilliantly when he said, at first you'll sound bad, but you'll be having fun, but you will get better, and you'll get better and better the more you do it. And eventually you will, you know, you'll have a really good sounding band.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I've always contended that this kind of home studio, revolution, really, whatever music's happening from this is like the new punk rock, because like punk rock was like, give me that guitar. I don't have to be you know, Joe Satriani. I could just pick it up and gang, 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 gang. And so that was the thing. And now that kind of aesthetic is coming out of all these home studios. You don't have to be, you know, uh, whatever to make these sounds. You can just sit down and start experimenting. So I think it's really cool that's happening, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens like on your ability to promote, in the future. You know what I mean? Because it's like I could see like this, like kind of what this AI thing. It could be a way to help people promote their music too. You know what I mean? It could be I mean, there's going to be a bunch of crap with it for sure, but there could also be I just think something's going to happen soon where where this guy at home can suddenly reach all these people really easily. So
There needs to
I'm
be
excited about that.
there needs to be a way for that to do that, because I think all that record labels have to offer artists like all of us these days is the reach of their sort of promotion. I mean, I there's a record label I really like called Mascot, and I get their weekly newsletter, and I do check out artists on it because we live in the age of Spotify and Apple Music.
Mm.
Um, and it's free. It's free to hear these new bands. So why wouldn't I take the opportunity to listen to albums that are promoted by a label that I believe have a strong record for me of putting out records that I like?
Yeah.
And I discovered this great band last week called King Falcon. Um, really, really cool album. And the thing's not any longer than maybe 35 minutes. And it's such a well done debut album. And that's the value of the label to them. They can push out,
Just a little more reach. Yeah.
yeah. And there needs to be something to replace that, because it used to be that they'd fund your record, but you can write a song without being Max Martin, and you can record a great track without having access to a studio like Abbey Road.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
so what can they offer? Because we could essentially get rid of the stranglehold that I believe exists on the music industry through something that had that kind of reach.
Yeah.
Why should
I
anyone
think that's going to
gatekeep?
happen. Yeah. I think it's going to be less and less of that gatekeeping. You're right. As time goes on. There's going to be some revolution happening there. Um, well, let's talk about Dan, your idea with Judgment lyrically. What were you or talk a little bit about the song about and what you were going for there.
Well, the song's about judgment. There's a
Thank you. Good night.
yeah,
Yeah, see you
we
later.
did it.
We completed music.
Yeah, that's it now. We can go home. Good
Oi,
night,
it's
everyone.
about Judgment, right?
So
Sid Vicious gives his interpretation.
it's just a song about judgment, isn't it? There's a I've been waiting to do that to someone. I'm sorry it was you. But you know, you came across as someone that could take it. So
but like interpersonal,
it's actually not, you know,
corporate.
So I wrote it about the way that we treat each other as human beings.
Mm,
I see a lot of judgment in the world, and I'm not going to get on any kind of soapbox or political sort of spectrum or agenda. But if we take the lyrics from the second verse, you know, a renegade warrior builds a new utopia. Everyone sort of fights for, you know, the world that they believe in.
mm,
And then the next line, you know, his head is strong and his heart is small. You know, he's really headstrong in this
mm,
sort of idea of fighting for this utopia and this, you know, what he believes in. But with that, we tend to let compassion fall by the wayside.
mm,
And then, you know, before too long, he'll kill us all. We're talking about, you know, the acts that people commit or the way we act, the things we actually do to each other to achieve those goals. And we judge each other, you know, we leave people in the past without educating them. We're happy to sort of roll over people, roll over anyone that doesn't fit with our agenda.
mm.
But actually, the people that are doing that today are often the ones that are getting rolled over tomorrow. And there's more that unites us as human beings on this planet than there is that divides us. We just allow ourselves to become divided because we hurt, because a big part of the human experience is pain.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah,
That's where that comes from.
yeah, that's really cool. I'm, you know, it's funny. I was just talking to someone earlier today about how all of a sudden it's like I'll use her as an example because I actually saw this on Instagram. Angelina Jolie is releasing a statement about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. I was just like, who the fuck cares? What
Right,
Angelina
man.
Jolie
Yeah.
has
This
to
is
say
what I'm
about it?
getting at. This is what I'm getting at. Why do we care what Angelina Jolie thinks? Meanwhile, Hamas are blowing up
Yeah,
Israeli people, and also Palestinian innocents are getting blown up
yeah,
by the IDF's bombing of Gaza. You know, all the innocents are getting killed in the meanwhile, and you know, celebrities are virtue signaling on the internet to look righteous in some way.
yeah.
What are we doing?
That's that's like that single in COVID, wasn't it, with the celebs doing Imagine, wasn't it? Remember that
Yeah,
one?
Oh, right, yeah.
What's the one Wonder Woman? What's her name? Gal.
Gal Gadot.
Good old, yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's just like that was just all about them, wasn't it? It wasn't even about. I can't remember what it was even about. Was it about COVID? I don't know what it was about. It was.
It ruined that
I
song
can't
for
even
me. I can't
remember. Yeah,
listen
yeah,
to
yeah.
it anymore, and
No,
I
I
love
Yeah,
know.
Wonder
like yeah,
Woman.
it was so out of tune, wasn't it? It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's the sort of thing. It's just like, ugh,
Yeah, but it's like,
yeah.
thank you for writing a song about this concept, which fits into this current situation, or fits into any kind of conflict that we humans cook up. Because this is how, when I was saying, this is what used to happen. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, can you imagine Bob Dylan taking to Instagram to like say, he just wrote a song about it, and if artists like if Angelina Jolie has something to say about it, that's great. Make a film. Make a film
You know,
about it. If it's a
one
passion
of the
for
things
it,
I really
do
love,
it. Show it in your art. Don't not from your mouth.
one of the things I really love about Bob Dylan as well is that he's lived his life fairly in the public eye. He's an incredibly talented singer songwriter. He's written some incredible songs. Um, Two of my favorite songs in the world, in fact, Desolation Row and Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Mm.
And they've been covered by other artists too and are loved. But Bob's lived his life in this sort of public eye, and whether he's done good or done bad in a particular moment, he's always owned it.
Mm.
He's always been a very sort of warts and all guy, and he just doesn't care what people think.
Mm.
In my opinion, he comes across that way, and I really respect him.
Yeah, well, he's one of these people that really, and a strange twist of fate. I know the actress that did the Bob Dylan musical on Broadway, and she, talked with Bob Dylan afterwards, and and Mara Winningham, is who it is, and she. So I learned about this story where he came up to her after. He said, "Oh, man, it's so great. These are your songs now." He said to her, and she was like, "No, I mean these are, no. I mean, I'm happy you're happy with it, but these are not my songs. I mean, you're Bob Dylan." And but his whole thing is, yeah, but they just come to him. He totally thinks of himself as a channel, so he doesn't even like put his like ego identity onto the fact that he's written all these crazy songs. He really just looks at himself as the channel that it came into, and then after that he walks around by himself for 5 hours through the East Village, and nobody knows where Bob Dylan is. Like, guys are going, "Where's Bob? I don't know." And he just shows up. "Oh yeah, I was just walking around and thinking about this, the musical and the songs and all this stuff." So I thought that was very cool. It was almost like I got the impression that he's almost like half in another dimension. You know what I mean? He's like he's like he's a
I feel
I
like a
mean,
lot of those, like that era in it, like the Stones are the same in it. They're just sort of almost like godlike in it. They're just in a different world to all of us. It feels like they
yeah.
don't have to
It's
care
either
about
that
anything
or
like we
drugs,
do.
isn't it?
All that, yeah, it could be that.
He take a few hits, a few hits too many. Yeah, but well, guys, thank you so much for coming. This is like I love this, man. I feel like I got a real slice of English rock here, man.
Oh,
Well,
well,
thanks.
you're
Thanks
very
for having us.
welcome. Thank you for having us on.
And yeah, tell us what's happening next with Popclaw. You got a lot of demos there, Chris. But you got anything that's coming out soon?
We have our attempts at Christmas, don't we, Dan?
Oh yeah, so
Okay.
earlier Chris was talking about this anecdote about his really short songs. He wrote a song that is, I think, less than a minute long and sent it to me for a laugh. So we've turned it into a Christmas hardcore punk single. We're going to be, we are putting that out, and we are going to be donating all proceeds to charity as well.
Oh,
Chris and I are fairly blessed in that we have, stable jobs and an income, and we can feed our kids, and Christmas will be fairly comfortable for us, but it's not going to be like that for everyone, and not everyone can afford to eat. This isn't like our Band-Aid moment, but this is, it
Get
means
out, Angelina. What are you talking about, mate?
it just means a lot that if people did want to buy it, it doesn't benefit us in any way. We're literally doing this for a cause. Even if you buy it and never listen to it because you hate it, you know, if you're in England, just £1, 50 pence, I don't care. If you're in the US or wherever else, $1, you know, whatever. It's not about us, it's about that, you know, we don't care, we don't want to chart off it. We're not going to go on top of the pops at Christmas or whatever else. And
will that be up on Bandcamp? We're going to do it through there, or
we are.
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we'll look out for that, and I'll help you guys promote that.
Thank you very much.
When it comes out, that's a
Thank you.
That's a great cause. But it was really cool to meet you guys. I look forward to whatever you're doing next, and you know, let me know if you guys ever actually meet face to face. Now I'm kind of on the edge of my seat of when this is ever going to happen.
We'll have to
captured on video.
It's becoming like a thing. Everyone that sort of speaks to us in any kind of either podcast or interview sort of capacity always asks about this. We're going to have to do a video, aren't we, for Instagram when it happens?
You know what? I have an idea. I would like to do the meeting of Popclaw live on Independent Artists Unite. You know, whenever you guys are ready, we'll set up a Zoom, or one of you goes to one of the other's house and they'll be in the Zoom, and then they'll walk in. We'll get the embrace or the slapped or the wrestling or whatever happens. We'll capture it all.
We'll probably have both
Slap and tickle.
other halves and 3 kids with us, but yeah, we can do it. Can't we think?
Could you imagine if you knocked on the wrong house?
We'll get everybody's
Oh, that was so awkward.
Oh,
Little Sally,
sorry,
what did you think about this? All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Scott.
Cheers. Thank you. Cheers.